Think you caught every detail in Squid Game? Think again. From Latin death phrases to real-life horrors and twisted symbolism hiding in plain sight, these are the darkest, most disturbing facts you missed in Squid Game. Let's dive in. For the first fact, we'll go into the dormitory. You probably recall how the dormitory walls in Season 1 were decorated with illustrations of the games, a detail that only went viral after the series aired. But here's what's more unsettling. In Seasons 2 and 3, those illustrations are gone. Instead, the walls feature a Latin phrase, Hodie mihi cras tibi. Translation, today it is me, tomorrow it is you. It's a grim prophecy of death that hangs over every player. No matter how spiritual, fearless, or delusional they arrive, like Thanos or the shaman, everyone eventually falls. The phrase is a quiet reminder, survival is temporary, and fate comes for all. The second fact on the list is that cheerful, almost whimsical classical tune you hear as players walk up the pastel-colored staircases. It's called the Blue Danube, but there's more to it than elegance. The real Danube is a river that winds from Germany and flows into the Black Sea, a body of water often symbolizing the unknown, even death. So as the players ascend those staircases, what seems like a colorful, childlike setting is actually a metaphor. They're being funneled, like the river, toward a dark and irreversible end. A beautiful tune masking their march toward death. If you think that was disturbing, just wait till you see what is on the third. It is something you mostly missed, and it is probably one of the most disturbing visuals in Squid Game, and it is the use of living humans as furniture by the masked VIPs. These nude individuals are painted and posed like lifeless mannequins, kneeling, reclining, or curled into armrests, stripped of autonomy and reduced to objects of comfort. VIP 4 resting his head on a mannequin's breasts further emphasizes the sexualized exploitation at play. This grotesque imagery reflects the show's core critique, a world where power turns people into commodities. Just like the players, these living props exist for elite amusement, embodying the brutal dehumanization that thrives within unchecked, exploitative hierarchies. The fourth fact is the most visually striking symbol in Squid Game, the black and pink coffin used for deceased players. At first, it seems like a stylistic choice, but look again and you'll recognize a haunting resemblance to the color scheme of Blackpink, the globally adored K-pop group. This aesthetic crossover isn't accidental. Blackpink represents fame, luxury, and cultural dominance. Their brand is powerfully glamorous, but in the world of Squid Game, that same glamour is twisted into something morbid. The coffins, sleek and ribboned like gift boxes, suggest that even in death, the game packages its horror with style. It's a chilling reflection of how society glorifies wealth, beauty, and fame without showing the cost. The connection implies that the pursuit of stardom and status can be just as deadly and dehumanizing as the Squid Game itself. The players, much like celebrities, are consumed by spectators, for entertainment, for spectacle. Their pain is polished, their deaths aestheticized. In this metaphor, the coffins become the final product of a system that values image over life and spectacle over soul. But that's not all. For the fifth fact, we'll have to go back to the very first episode just before the infamous red light, green light game. The frontman enters his private quarters and makes a phone call to initiate the game. At first glance, it seems unremarkable, but here's what you probably missed. He picks up the phone with his right hand, even though the character is canonically left-handed. Later, after the chaos erupts and players are shot for moving, the frontman pours himself a drink, this time using his left hand. This subtle switch isn't random. It's a symbolic gesture. The right hand for order, the left hand for madness. It marks the precise moment the series transitions from the mundane into full-scale psychological horror. Speaking of psychological horror, everyone remembers the creepy doll from Red Light, Green Light, but barely anyone noticed what was tucked into her hair. A pin shaped like the iconic symbols of the game: circle, triangle, and square. It's easy to miss amid the panic and gunfire, but that little detail was an early hint. The very first game was already foreshadowing the final showdown. The signs were there, we just weren't looking. Although there are some things that you saw, but you just didn't connect the dots. This next fact is one of those. It is one of the most haunting visual parallels in Season 1 and comes from a seemingly innocent moment, when Gi-hun gives his daughter a gift box. At first glance, it's a small gesture of love, a ribbon-wrapped box meant to show affection and hope. But look closer, and it mirrors something far more disturbing: the pastel-colored, ribbon-tied coffins used for players who are eliminated. This subtle connection isn't accidental. Both boxes are nearly identical in presentation, suggesting a chilling message from the game's creator, Oh Il-nam, that death in his twisted logic is a kind of gift, a release from the crushing weight of poverty and desperation. It's a disturbingly poetic gesture, life reduced to a neatly wrapped package, whether it's a token of love or a corpse. Gi-hun's present, meant to express care for his daughter, becomes symbolically corrupted by this imagery. It's a reminder that even pure intentions are tainted under the game's brutal philosophy. The coffins, designed to look cheerful and celebratory, mock the very idea of dignity in death. They treat human lives like disposable products, boxed and discarded with aesthetic flair. This detail deepens the emotional tragedy of Gi-hun's arc. In trying to reclaim his humanity through a simple, heartfelt gift, he unknowingly mirrors the very system that has dehumanized him. It blurs the line between care and cruelty, hope and horror, a reflection of how the game twists every symbol into something darker. While on the topic of symbols, in Season 1, the golden animal masks worn by the VIPs aren't just a fashion statement. They're a layered symbol steeped in cultural meaning and biting social commentary. Each mask, lion, tiger, eagle, represents traits traditionally admired in elite circles: dominance, cunning, strength. These animals also carry weight in Korean mythology, where they often symbolize authority and nobility. Take the tiger, for example. It's a national symbol of power and protection, deeply respected in Korean folklore. But in Squid Game, these noble symbols are twisted. The masks dehumanize their wearers, reducing them to voyeuristic predators who watch suffering for sport. The imagery turns the elite into beasts, detached, primal, and grotesque. They're not leaders, they're spectators in a blood-soaked zoo. The gold finish amplifies their untouchability, a gleaming barrier between them and the humanity they've long abandoned. It's a chilling metaphor. The more power they hold, the less human they become. But it's not just the VIPs, the players are similar in that sense. From the very start, players are stripped of their names and assigned numbers. Gi-hun becomes 456. Sae-byok is 067. It's more than a gameplay mechanic. It's a calculated act of dehumanization. This reduction mirrors how capitalist systems often treat people not as individuals but as labor units, statistics, or bottom-line figures. In the game, your name, your story, relationships, identity holds no value. What matters is whether you survive, win, or die. The numbers erase individuality, replacing it with a cold, transactional existence. And in doing so, the game severs empathy between players, pushing them toward ruthless competition over cooperation. It's survival of the most useful or the luckiest. This design doesn't just serve the story. It sharpens the show's critique of a world where worth is measured by output, not humanity. It's an eerie echo of real-world systems where people often feel like disposable parts in a machine built for someone else's gain. And everything in the series, especially the games, are like that. One of the perfect examples, and the next on the list, is the Glass Bridge game. It is one of the most visually breathtaking and psychologically brutal moments in Squid Game. Players must leap across panels of glass, not knowing which ones are reinforced and which will shatter beneath them. There are no patterns, no logic, just blind risk. When player 017, the glassmaker, briefly introduces a sliver of skill into the chaos, is sabotaged by the game's design. When he starts identifying safe panels using his expertise, the lights are turned off. Strategy is punished. Randomness wins. This isn't just game design, it's ideology. The bridge becomes a metaphor for life in an unequal world, where effort and intelligence are often crushed under the weight of luck, timing, and rigged systems. The bridge punishes planning and rewards chance, exposing the cruelty of a system that pretends to offer opportunity but thrives on uncertainty. It's a cruel joke, played to an audience of elites who enjoy watching others fall. Anyways, the next dark fact is another parallel, and we saw the first half early in Season 1 when Gi-hun treats his daughter to a steak dinner. A rare moment of warmth that symbolizes his struggle to care for her despite poverty. This scene mirrors the final steak dinner given to the last 3 players, presented as a gesture of reward but steeped in irony. In both cases, steak, a symbol of luxury, masks deeper exploitation. For Gi-hun, it represents love under financial strain. For the players, it's their final meal before potential death. The parallel critiques how even acts of care or generosity can be co-opted by systems that reduce people to consumable, disposable resources. Another dark fact that most of you missed occurred in Season 3's final scene. The frontman, Hwang In-ho, is visibly stunned when he sees an American recruiter, played by Cate Blanchett, playing Dokji in Los Angeles. Creator Hwang Dong-hyuk later confirmed In-ho had no clue of international games until that moment. Blanchett's cameo with a cold, knowing glance reveals a global network far beyond In-ho's control. It's a powerful shift. The overseer becomes the outsider. This twist reinforces Squid Game's message that the machinery of exploitation is far more expansive than any one figure. Even those in power are just parts of a deeper worldwide system built on suffering, and that suffering was inspired by real-life events. That's the next dark and twisted fact. In Squid Game, the remote island setting serves as more than just a backdrop. It hauntingly mirrors the real-life horrors of Brothers Home, a notorious internment camp in Busan, South Korea that operated during the 1970s and 1980s. Under the guise of social purification, the government forcibly detained thousands of civilians, many of them homeless, disabled, or political dissidents. Inside the camp, detainees endured relentless abuse, forced labor, and dehumanization. Survivors recall being rounded up in matching blue tracksuits, an unsettling parallel to the teal uniforms worn by players in Squid Game. The resemblance is more than visual, it's thematic. Both the camp and the game isolate their victims from society, conceal atrocities from public scrutiny, and treat human lives as expendable. In both, the vulnerable are exploited for the benefit or convenience of those in power. Squid Game doesn't just critique fictional systems, it subtly invokes Korea's historical wounds, using its deadly competitions to echo real-world injustices. The tracksuits, once a uniform of the oppressed, become symbols of commodification, where poverty, desperation, and human suffering are packaged and controlled. By drawing from the legacy of Brothers Home, Squid Game underscores a chilling truth. Exploitation often hides behind order, silence, and spectacle. And what is Squid Game if not a spectacle for the terrible elites? Which brings us to our next fact, which occurs in Squid Game Season 2. During the Mingle game, Young Il makes a seemingly harmless joke, suggesting that player 222's unborn baby should count as a player. At the time, it plays off as dark humor, but the joke becomes disturbingly real in Season 3. During the jump rope game, the unborn child is officially counted as an additional player, forcing player 222 into a no-win situation. This grim callback transforms the joke into prophecy, highlighting the game's cold, mechanical logic. Even unborn life isn't spared, emphasizing how the system commodifies every ounce of human existence, before birth or beyond it. Moving on. In Season 2, the player known as Thanos hides drugs inside a hollow cross necklace, a disturbing subversion of religious symbolism. Traditionally representing hope and salvation, the cross becomes a container for his addiction, a symbol of despair rather than faith. This mirrors the shaman lady, who uses ritual and prayer as coping mechanisms. Both of them cling to warped interpretations of faith to survive the game's horrors. Their desperation turns sacred symbols into tools of denial or escape, illustrating how capitalism corrupts even belief systems, reducing religion to another casualty in the fight for survival. Next is No Yul's covert plan to save Gyeong Seok. Now that act alone exposes the moral cost of survival. A North Korean defector, she manipulates the game's system to protect him and ensure a future for his daughter. but her strategy involves betraying and killing guards, people as trapped and desperate as the players. Her actions reveal the show's brutal truth. Even compassion demands cruelty. Though her motives stem from love, No Yul sacrifices others to secure one life. The line between right and wrong blurs, highlighting the zero-sum logic of capitalism, where survival for one often requires the downfall of another.